Welcome to Season 1 of the PMO Community Podcast Series. I'm Aina Alive, your guide on this engaging exploration into the world of PMO leadership, highlighted by our unique book writing challenge. This season promises a series of enriching interviews with our distinguished book co-authors. Today, I'm thrilled to converse with Žydra Tubelytė, a transformational leader and project management executive. Since her career inception, Žydra has specialized in turning underperforming process into valuable assets for global companies. She is not only a certified project management professional, PMP, and PMO certified consultant, but also a pivotal community figure in PMI PMO Global Alliance and Microsoft Directions for Partners. Currently engaged in various strategic roles, Žydra applies her extensive knowledge and experience to propel project and program managers towards success, meeting all their project deliverables with precision. Her commitment extends beyond professional duties as she mentors and leads in the Lithuanian professionals in Spain, actively contributing to the evolution of project management practices. In this episode, we will explore how insights from the neuroscience can enhance PMO leaders' strategies to address resistance to change, the application of the Kübler-Ross model in managing operational transitions, effective communication tactics during change initiatives, and ways to involve stakeholders more inclusively in the change process. Don't miss out on our upcoming episodes. Follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Podbean, and other podcast social media to stay updated. Hi Žydra, welcome to my podcast related to the book challenge writing, which is on the topic The Rise of the Chief Project Officer, the Evolution of the PMO. Welcome, thank you for joining.
Thank you very much for inviting. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you wrote your chapter about the neuroscience and neurobiology, and I have a few questions related to that. So my first question to you, Žydra, is could you please elaborate on how insights from neuroscience can equip PMO leaders with strategies to navigate and mitigate resistance to change among team members?
So I really love of neuroscience and findings that is related with the business management and especially with PMOs. Or one of the missions of PMO leaders to implement different changes to organization, to transform the processes, to implement new ways of managing projects and so on. And then as an outcome of every change that we have, it's typically to have resistance. And not everyone in the organizations agrees what we want to do. And it is a lot of other models and recommendations. But for me, it was constantly the question, but why people resist? What's wrong? Why we tend to disagree with some changes? And then the answers I found in neuroscience. And what they say about the change is something unknown. And when we meet any change, our brain, have main purpose to protect from any threat that we have in the environment. Unknown situations overall for our brain is seen as a danger, as something that you cannot predict, you don't know what will happen and so on. And there are different parts of brains that activating. Don't want to go too deep to really science details on the brain, but you just need to understand that as soon as we announce any change for the people, the first part that it's activated, it's called amygdala, is the part of brain that protects us, and main purpose of that part of brain is to protect us from danger and always to scan the environment to find it. So it's normal to expect that people hearing our announcement about some changes, some improvements that we're coming to do, even though they are beneficial, the first reaction could be the fear, could be some frustration, disagreements, and so on, because it's a natural reaction to something unknown. Because at the moment of announcing the change, they don't have a lot of questions. And it could be also activating other parts of brain. Then, okay, we understand, okay, it's a new process or new system we implement. Then it's another part of brain that called the basal ganglia that's important, is part of our habits. And we every day enjoy having the habits in our day work, because it's really easy for us to do the work. When we have as a habit, we do an automated way. When we say that we implement something new, means that we will need to learn it. And learning is a work for us and for our brain to build new ways how we do it. And the science says that after more or less 40 to 50 repetitions, we transform the behavior to habit. Then we do an automated way. And what it means for us, because brain also a little bit lazy, they're trying to save their energy. So they say, oh, it's something new I will need to do. And it's also impacting how we behave. In addition to that, also we have the memories of our past experiences. So means that if we had not successful project or implementation of something in the past, it will be in our brain. And that's again our brain saying, oh, be careful, last time it was not successful, maybe you had some suffering out of it and so on. And our brain again protecting us from that not so nice experience. So it's mainly those things. But if we talk even about transformations that involve, for example, physical location change, we move to another center, or something changing the way of changing organizational structure, for example, it's also activating another part of brain that is responsible for our social relationship. So it means we need to rebuild again, because we have some kind of physical and social maps in the head when we're coming to any physical place or social relationship that we have. So as you say, then when we have any change, all those parts of brain are activated. So meaning that when we announce something, we need to be ready. And then when I do my changes and implementing in the organization, I always say, I expect resistance, because it's really natural for us as a human being, and trying always to address all those fears or uncertainties that people might have.
Thank you for your answer, Žydra. I totally agree. As an agile coach, I also deal with lots of changes, and that's why organizations is bringing agile coaches to help them with transformation and with changes. And unfortunately, leaders never take into account the human factor. And when we start working on changes, I keep telling them that people resist, and it's normal. They get so frustrated, but why do they resist? It's for best for them. And I keep telling it's human factor in short words. In longer answer is what you just described us. It's how people's brain work. And when people don't resist, it's even more frustrating for me than they resist. It means something is wrong here. They definitely resist inside. They're not just telling us. And it means that the resistance curve is going to take longer than it's supposed to be if they resist the first place. Do you agree?
And it's really, I agree totally with you, because it could be resistant fast, like shorter or longer, or it's just reaction. Sometimes it's maybe not resistant, but just adapting to new situation. But yeah, the most I worried about the people that didn't show any emotion, because then you don't know whether they really totally disagree, they agree, but they don't show it. And then it's the danger, because then we're coming to another model that is known by Kübler-Ross model of grief, that change practitioners really adapted it to the business. It means that the people goes the change through different phases. And when people don't show emotion, it could be form of resistance, just not to show anything and say, okay, my opinion is not important, I don't care, and then silently the person looking for a new job or something, and it's really dangerous. So then for the change leaders, for PMO leaders who are planning the initiatives, they need really to look how people react, because those who showing emotions, in my opinion, is much easier to deal with, because they saying you what they disagree, what they don't like, they questioning a lot, and then you can select appropriate tactics to manage that resistance, that fear that they might have. But the people who are silent is most difficult. But it's important not to forget about the people who are not showing emotions so strongly, like others.
Yeah, thank you, Žydra. And that's where I was leading, because another part of your article was dedicated exactly to this Kübler-Ross model, what you just mentioned. And it starts from shock and then denial and grief, and eventually we are moving to acceptance. So maybe people who are silent, their shock stage is quite long and quite deep compared to the others. And then the grief stage also is long and deep. And as you just said, they might start looking for a job when they're in the grief stage without going through another stages and then finally move to the acceptance. So how do you think the organizational leaders can apply this Kübler-Ross model to better support their team and their employees through the changes?
And I believe it's a really useful model. First, they need to understand that the speed, how people go through that model is really different. It depends on a lot of factors, what I said also from neuroscience, that depends on their past experiences, that also their interest to the change and so on. And this also doesn't mean that the model is linear and that like you passing one phase, you're going to another. They could return as well if it's another phase of the implementation of the project. They need something that they don't like. But the most important thing is that in the beginning, typically, when we're announcing the change, we should expect really strong emotional reaction. But it's about shock and denial and that people disagree. And they challenging us a lot, asking a lot of questions. It could be like, you can notice also some gossiping between the teams, interpreting what's coming, what are hidden agendas, and so on. So it's really strong emotional, and it's reactions, and it's the most work I believe that we need to do and to focus. And our communication, our way handling the resistance should be really focused on the emotions that people feel and to cover and to be more like empathic, to understand natural and help them to move to another stage. A really important stage is what is called in the model depression. It means like decision point. It means that you decide. You support the change in one or another way, or you disagree totally. And it's really dangerous point when people decide to be or not to be with the company. They could leave, and typically if it's managed not properly, we can lose key employees in that case. And that's try to talk to people, try to get their feedback. The signs when we see that person starts supporting the change or like accepting that it's happening and joining it, is this first signal would be that they start asking more like, so how we'll do it, what I need to learn, show me how it looks like, showing a little bit the signs of interest in it. Then as we say, then keep the moment and help them to understand what's going to be, how it changed. And also again from the neuroscience point of view, especially in the early stage of announcing the change and the denial, shock, we need really to communicate not only what is going to be and what we are changing, but also because our brain, when they don't know something, they think about all possible scenarios, what could happen, what could go wrong, what is just again from that self-protection and survival instinct that we have just to protect ourselves. So when we communicate the change, it's really important not only why we do the change, what we're going to do, but what won't change, what will stay the same. Then we limit the fantasy or imagination of the people, because in the beginning we say, we'll transform that and that process, and then every person could create the image what means that transformation, So then by limiting their imagination, we can show, look, we change only that and that part, and our remaining things you will do the same like you did. And then it's calming down the people, because they say, it's not so big that I thought initially. So always just go on and think where they are and track emotions. Emotion says a lot where they are.
Also, as you just mentioned, when we deal with change or something new, the brain starts thinking about different possible scenarios. So we can turn it into risk management and address it to the employees or the team members. So scenario which potentially might happen, and this is our risk response. And we can address like 2-3 scenarios like that, so people will feel safe. They're our leaders, they thought about it. response strategy. Otherwise, their brain will just keep spinning in different.
Exactly.
And our brain is super creative when we don't need it, and so it will create scenarios. And for me, the worst case scenario when I address the change and the team member is sitting in front of me with a poker face and saying, okay, or yes, to everything what I propose. So that is the worst case scenario. It meaning there is no buy-in, the person just trying to, I have no idea what is happening in his creative brain at this moment.
It's true. It's a really dangerous point. I agree totally.
My next question is leading to how to get the buy-in when you address the changes to the team members or also to the organizational leaders. We already mentioned different scenarios, so risk responses might be useful, but what other strategies can you provide?
It's really a lot and really depend, I would say, on the organizational culture as well, what is used to have in the company, but in some companies have really the culture that we said we'll do. Others like more listen to people and so on. So you cannot be like company like change totally. So strategy depends on the culture. But to get buy-in, the first things, of course, people should understand. We should explain why we do that change, why exactly now, why we have chosen that solution out of all of them, what would be if we won't change, what consequences we might have. First, building the knowledge about what is the change about and why we do it, and also important to say that in the early stage of announcement, we need to repeat a lot, because when we are in that early stage with a lot of emotions, we are not able to memorize everything. And I noticed it many times in the companies. It looks like you did one meeting to explain to everyone, and then you're getting questions about the same what you talked to. So it means like people just not able to process so much. So repeat it in different formats. If it's common to have meetings, during the meetings. If it's common to have some Teams channel, communication, whatever, be creative on it. Talk to people or the most resistant stakeholders individually. Listen to them. Help have open channel for questions that people can write the questions, their worries, because some people don't like one-to-one and not so brave to say what they disagree, but they feel more confident if they can, let's say, write their worries anonymously. So then also have the channel, respond to people, explain, show it. So one is saying why and getting that buy-in that, okay, we agree, we understand what we do and why. Then, of course, try to address the questions of, especially if you heard about hidden agendas and something, try to respond proactively what's going to be. If people have, the company and the organization have the unfortunate experience in the past on something like not successful projects and so on, so try also to address the fear of failing again, that it's typically you can hear the comments like, oh, you did last time and it was failure, how you know that will be successful now. To address that one, involve people. I notice also that involving people who resist for finding solutions, helping, because then we create the feeling that they are part of the change, that they control the change that is going on. And exactly what happens with the change, usually we lose control because someone made a decision to implement that, and we now just standing in front of the fact. So engaging them, asking them, so what risk you see, how you think we could manage it, creates also some buy-in from the stakeholders that resist because they feel part of the team. Also, another very important part is really strong sponsor and the leader leading the change. If you don't have strong sponsor and support from the leadership team, basically it's really difficult for any PMO leader to implement the change. You need to have the support, because also if we have strong leader in the company, sponsor of the project, who supports the change and people trust them, so even resistant people, they most probably would like to follow that leader. Especially we show them what opportunities waiting for them. Maybe it's new career opportunities, maybe it's new skills that they can gain and to become like more competitive in the market, potential salary growth and so on. And as a fourth that I also like to to show recognition, especially if we're still in early stages and you see other team members already accepting the change, and they do show its example, give it recognition for them, then others, because we also social, so we like to be part of the team, and when the change is happening, we like to be part of the team because it's safer to be in the group than to be alone. And if you see that your colleagues are joining and they're already supporting the change and they are there and they're getting we show that they're getting benefits out of it, they see value of that, then most probably the person who may be more suspicious on that will join as well, because to be in the team is a strong motivator for us.
Thank you for writing your chapter for our book challenge, and also for participating in today's podcast, and hope to see you again very soon.
Thank you again, and it's my pleasure to share what I learned through my 20 years of experience in the project. So hopefully everyone will find something to apply.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the PMO Community Podcast for this enlightening discussion with Žydra Tubelytė. A special thanks to our volunteers at the PMO Community Podcast for making this episode possible. Stay tuned for more captivating insights and interviews in our upcoming episodes. Don't forget to follow us on social media such as YouTube, LinkedIn, Podbean, Spotify, and other podcast social media to stay updated. If you find this episode valuable, please remember to like and share it. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn with any questions or requests. And for all the latest updates, make sure to follow us on our social media.